Good morning, good morning, good morning, everyone. This is Toni Moore, and I'm having a more legal moment. So today I just wanted to talk about the importance of succession planning. I know, no one really wants to talk about succession planning, but as we already know, nothing is promised to us, right? And as an attorney of more than 21 years, and as a litigator, and as a financial fraud compliance person, let me just tell you that there's so much drama when it comes to people, when people die and when money is involved. I'm just saying it's so much drama. You would not believe the drama. So today, and good morning for joining. Today, I just want to just talk about like just 5 things that you need to consider when you are considering. Well, I'll just say cons- 5 things to consider when you are planning out your financial success, because everyone wants to grab the bag and secure the bag and build the bank and get their 6 figures. But what good is any of that if you don't have a plan written down to make sure that your cousin Vinny or some long lost relative shows up and captures your coins, right? So the first things first is that I always look from the perspective of trial. I tell people, what is the worst thing that could absolutely happen? And for most people, the worst thing that could absolutely happen is that one of their family members who they know despises them ends up getting their money. Wouldn't that be the worst thing that could possibly happen? Or the worst thing that could possibly happen is that if you have a family member, such as a mother or father, who had a girlfriend and stepped outside of the marriage, or had a girlfriend, never got married, and guess what? They changed all of the documents that, that said nothing about you and everything about them. I mean, that would really, really be the worst thing that could happen. And that's for succession planning number 2, maybe broadcast, when we're talking about our parents. Hopefully they're still have the capacity to put things in writing, because when they don't, that's a whole separate issue. But today, let's just talk about you the authoritarian, you the boss, you the one who's making the decisions, you the one who's building and banking, you're the one who's capturing your coins and your careers. I need you to understand that it's just important for you to have a succession plan in place. If you have a business, you need to have your succession plan in place. If you have a career, you need to have a succession plan in place. If you are working at a job and you have a 401k, or you have a profit sharing plan, or you have an ESOP interest, you need to have some documents in place so that your family members, if something happens, do not scramble. Because here's the thing. One, if it's written down, if it's your will, they have to fulfill your will. If it's in a will, they have to fulfill it. If it's in a will, they have to fulfill it. Good, bad, or indifferent. If it's in a will, it must be fulfilled. So the first thing that you need to do is put it in writing. And you need to put it in writing who is going to be the responsible people. Put it in writing who you choose not to gift anything away to. Put it in writing who is going to be the trustee of your children's estate if they're under 18, or if you believe that they're not mature enough to grab your coins. You need to put those things in writing. So first things first, most people know that they need a will, and then they also need a healthcare directive. Oh my God, can I tell you how much drama, how many phone calls I get in Pennsylvania when a girlfriend or a baby's mom or a family member who no one spoke to in years shows up and starts dictating what can happen to a family member with regards to an operation. And that's the worst thing in the world. So put it in writing, put it all in writing. Even, I want you to even have a durable power of attorney. I tell my clients, you can have something called a springing durable power of attorney. You know what that is? That means that if I become incapacitated, and my doctor says, oh my God, there's nothing that Toni can do, then the person becomes my agent. Then they become my power of attorney, my durable power of attorney throughout eternity. So you need to put someone in place who you absolutely trust. Okay. Then those are the legal documents. And most people say, oh, I don't want to do it, but you need those legal documents, because I promise you, it's so much confusion when someone passes away, or when someone gets sick, or when there's an oopsie and they're like, oh my God, Where is the life insurance? Oh my God, where is the financial documents? That's why I always tell people I'm a big proponent of having a financially secure portfolio, estate planning portfolio, whatever you want to call it, do it. So, Toni, why do I need this and stuff in place? Well, let me just tell you about some scenarios, okay? One, family member passes away. We'll call it mom. Mom passes away. Mom has 10 kids. Mom has 10 kids from 3 different daddies. The kids don't get along, honey. The kids don't get along. They don't get along. I know them. Oh my God, I had to hikam Hashem, plead the blood of Jesus and everything. They don't get along. But I'm trying to bring them together because she had securities, she had 2 houses, she had a bank account. So, the kids elected 2 people to be their representatives, right? And as the 2 people to be their representatives without a will, that means, party people, that the rest of the kids, the 8, had to sign out on something called renunciation forms. Please, mira, listen to me when I say renunciation forms does not mean that I renounce my right to my mother's estate. Renunciation forms means I renounce my right to administer mama's estate. Because, oh my God, could you imagine 10 people? The courts, if they couldn't pick the 10 people, I promise you, the judge would have elected 2 of the responsible people, or they would have they would have assigned an attorney to the case. And I'm going to tell you right now, good morning. People get mad at the attorneys when we charge an attorney fee. But when people start calling and then you got to talk to all these beneficiaries and then you got to seek and find where the money is, then you got to go to the accounts and then family members don't know, or you find out that somebody put their name on the bank account, it gets ugly. Okay. So I tell people all the time, I'm like, oh my God, can you just put it in writing? I know. You don't want to make that decision. I know. You don't want to choose a child. I know. But you have to put it in writing because one, so that is not over with. Okay. I'm dealing with the 10 kids. And let me just tell you, I swear to goodness that the 2 people, they don't get along. I had a prayer with them. We had meetings. We tried to figure out how to make this work. And most recently I realized that guess what? One of the co-administrators, she trying to wait everybody out. And I told her, don't wait everybody out. Because some of your siblings who you don't like, but they're entitled to the bag, they have spouses, they have children. And if they die, then you're going to have to deal with their children and spouses because it doesn't go away. So let me just tell you, that's why we have to. I know most of us are not proactive. Believe it or not, I'm an attorney, love being an attorney, but I'm a professor and I'm a creative. Put all that together. And, when it's time for me to create, I become a creative. I forget about time. I don't want to do anything. I need to get in the moment or whatever. And when I'm a professor, I'm all, trying to make sure that I come up with a problem and a procedure and the process that people can get, and then as a lawyer, I'm straight shooter, like, boom, come on. I need you to figure this thing out because we got to handle business, right? So the question is, what if you're single and you own no assets? If you're single and own no assets, then here's the thing. You're still building and you're still banking and you're still living your life and collecting the coins. Maybe you have a family member who you would want to bless if you should pass away. Or maybe there's a nonprofit that you want them to move their mission. You want to help them monetize their mission so that they can do better works, So it's not just about you, we belong together. So I'm telling you why. One, you need to put it in writing and have the documents. That's one of the reasons. Number 2, this is another reason why you need to get your affairs in order is because the insurance company is not going to identify the beneficiary. Can you imagine? I see a couple of my insurers on here, right? Can you imagine if you have helped your client come up with an amount, risk management amount that covers the house, covers the kids' tuition, covers the spouse's needs up through maybe 85 years old, and for whatever reason, because people do this, that your client did not have a state portfolio in place, so no one knows where the money is, and also No one knows where the insurance policy is. That's why I always get my clients. I'm like, you're going to write this out. This is your financial estate plan. Here's your financial information. This is your records of your bank account. This is your advisor. This is your broker. So you can put it in your estate planning portfolio so that should you pass away, and we always make them pass away like at 1,000 years old, at least your family members knows that is where it is. Because the worst thing to me is to have finally done what you needed to do to capture your coins and secure your bag, and your family members don't know where it is. I have this one family member. She's like, oh my God, Toni, I have to wait 30 days to find out if I'm the beneficiary. And I was like, that's how it is, because there's privacy issues in place, because there are fraudulent people, they look in the obituaries and they look to see, oh, let's see who passed away. Let's try to figure this out. And the bank account, there's there's different agencies like FINRA and different agencies with regards to the comptrollers and currency, and OCC, sorry about that. But they know that there has to be privacy issues, so it's very hard to subpoena bank records. So sometimes, if you have a family member and you don't know where they're banked, then you have to start looking at their mail when they come in after they pass away. And then that's how you figure it out. Or you just do like I tell people to do and just have an estate planning portfolio in place that captures all that information, because the worst thing in the world is to have to look for the money, right? So you need to have the estate planning documents, the legal stuff, but then you also need to know that the life insurance person. Now, if you know the life insurance person, the agent, your mom's agent, it became like the family agent, then that's a little different. But Hunte, when you don't know anything, then you have to go like eeny, meeny, miny, mo. I have this other client. They have to wait until they stop arguing over who's going to be the co-administrators or the administrator, so that they can get to the bank record, so that they could see where the deductions were going. Because sometimes you almost have to do kind of like forensic audit, a forensic auditor, where you're following the money. Okay, the money came out of here, and where did it go to, and where did it go to, and who's this person, and what's the address, and things of that nature. But when you have things in place, then like an estate planning portfolio, you have that estate planning portfolio together, boom, everything is there, no problem, everything is done, right? So another thing, what about, and I get this call, well, how do I know about business? Child, that's a whole different situation. And I was talking to someone, they were like, well, what about business? Well, oftentimes when people are dealing with estate planning, probate, they're dealing with maybe a family member who is getting or sick, and you have to now step in as their power of attorney. Then oftentimes the business is like an issue. But if you don't know who their business partners are, you don't know where the business banking is, you don't know where the operating agreement is, then the person who is, and if there was a tiff between your loved one and the business partner, and you don't know, and your family member is coherent or incoherent or incapacitated, do you know how hard that's going to be? I mean, that's on the one end, not knowing and having to step in, not knowing and missing out on some deadlines, not knowing and missing out on opportunities to send out the proposals, the business proposals, right? And on the other end, oh my goodness, on the other end is when you're dealing with a business transaction and you really don't really know about the business, right? So that's why I tell my business owners, you need to have a succession planning. Like as an attorney, I know that if something happens to me, that my clients, we still have deadlines. We have trial dates in Pennsylvania. We have some trademark trials coming up. We have all of that stuff. And if something happens to me, I have tapped someone on the shoulder and said, if I can't do it, I need you to do it. I need you to step in, because I still represent these people. I still have a fiduciary responsibility. Y tú también, you know what I mean? So, one, yes, you do need a personal estate planning documents, but if you're a business owner, you also need business succession documents. You need business succession documents with regards to your partners, because it can be kind of crazy with your partners. If you die, or if your partner died, do you really want to be in business with their their heirs, or what if they didn't put it in writing and now you have to be in business with their intestate heirs, come what may, or do you really want that to happen? Because that's not something that most people want. They just want to be in partner with the people who they are in partnership with, right? And who they negotiated with. So thinking about that, that's why you need a personal succession planning, estate planning, and also you need a business succession planning and estate planning documents in place. Okay. Why, Toni? Because let me just tell you, I have a client right now and they're going through so much because they have been in partnership for over 30 years and one of the partners passed away. And guess what? Didn't have a business succession planning. So one of the partners passed away. So their son stepped in, and he's under 21, but he's older than 18, and he does not really know what he's doing. So he's deferring to the partner's husband, who the partner had divorced. Can you imagine that? Can you freaking imagine it? I was like, oh my gosh, she must be turning over in her grave because, the very person who she said, I'm signed, sealed, delivered, I'm done, I don't want anything to do with you. Guess what? Now her business is now being represented by the man who she divorced. Oh, can you imagine? Can you imagine, right? So that's another reason why you need a personal estate planning and you need a business succession planning. Another thing that you really need to consider, it may be high level for some people, and don't get worried. I just want to drop it into your spirit, okay? Is that you may need to put your money in a trust. Right. I love trust. I'm an attorney. I do ERISA, which is employee retirement benefits. I do trust and estates. I got my little certification in trust and estates, back in like 1997, 98. I love doing trademarks because I'm always thinking of it like intellectual property, and in 2006, I got my master's in taxation. Yeah, child. I went back to school, but I'm a professor too. So I went back to school and I was like, yeah, I'm going to do this. So I got my LLM in taxation, which is what attorneys go when they go back to school and they get like a specialization. So law says we are not technically supposed to say we specialize, but I do what I do, right? So I love this area, and trust is something that I love. I'm like, maybe I should write this book called Entrusted, right? I don't know how many people would pick it up, but at least somebody would know that you can entrust your whole life into this vehicle, right? So when I see it was this younger person, and she was like, rich people, they put their money somewhere and then they get this money out somewhere, and I'm like, either it's a trust or it's a trust. There's like 50 different types of trusts that you can set up. And FYI, you still need your estate planning documents. FYI, you still need your business planning documents, and then you can have a trust, right? And so with a trust, you pretty much, you can set it up different ways, right? Thank you, Drea. Okay, so maybe I'll write it and trust it. But so you set up your trust, and you can set up a revocable trust or an irrevocable trust, right? And so with a revocable or irrevocable trust, whether it's land trust, whether it's estate trust, whether it's marital trust, where maybe it's a charitable lead trust, a special needs trust when you're having a family member who is impaired, incapacitated, maybe they're in a car accident, and they get tons of money, but that they need doctors and therapists, and and they need home care and health care and, all that stuff that maybe a hospital or subacute cannot assist them with, then that's where you put that money into a special needs trust. And that's a little different, right? But I'll write it all out and trust it so you can get it. But the trust I like, because do you know that a trust could be a member of an limited liability company? Do you also know that a trust can set up its own limited liability company? Do you know that a trust can even set up a charitable organization? Entrusted is amazing, right? So even you, first of all, it costs some money. It costs a few coins to set this thing up. And there's a determination that needs to be made whether or not you're going to have an irrevocable trust, a revocable trust, maybe even a blind trust. Toni, what you mean a blind trust? Because I was trying to sell a blind trust to one of my clients, and she kept air quoting. You know how people air quote? I'm air quoting like I'm not on a podcast, but She said, blind trust. I was like, no, we need that blind trust, because if something should happen to you, right, then you don't have any estates, because you don't know, because it's a quote unquote, and I, once again, air quote, blind trust. And that's the beauty of a blind trust. FYI, President Trump has a blind trust. FYI, he can perp like he doesn't know anything with regards to his blind trust, because when you have a blind trust, you're like, I don't know anything. I don't know what transactions. I don't know where the holdings are. I don't know where the land is. I don't know anything, which technically, if it's technically a blind trust, you really don't know. And that's a beautiful thing, especially when your loved one or yourself turns like 105 years old, and you don't want to bleed out your estate to medical expenses or long-term care. And if you technically don't have the money in your estate, then guess what, party people? You don't own it, so you don't have to sell it down. Now, that's a whole different conversation that is not going to be on the airwaves, because certain states allow you to do Medicaid planning, but my state, the state of Pennsylvania, does not. Okay. So anyway, that's the beauty of a trust and the need to have like your money's entrusted, right? Love that. So we were talking about, personal estate planning documents, business planning documents. We're talking about also the need to have a trust, and also the need, I love this, I do love this, is to have your employee benefit plan. So if you have an employer, they're always like, hey, join the employee benefit plan, because because you can set money aside. The likelihood of having a pension is most people having a pension where you have a certain amount of money for a certain amount of years is slim to none. But if you're still part of a union, or maybe you're a beneficiary to someone who was part of one, then that really helps you out. FYI, I've been in the retirement business security community for over 15 years. I talk about this a lot with regards to employee benefits and securing employee benefits and helping people become more proactive. One of the facets of my life is I get a chance to talk about financial literacy for younger children. So, between 8th grade to the 12th grade. So I get a chance to go out and talk to them, but I'm only in the Philadelphia metro area. So that's one of the things that we do. And then, I pass out booklets about financially, securing your financial legacy, right? You're doing all this work. You need to secure your financial legacy, whether it is a 401k, whether it is a Roth IRA, whether it is something else, or if you have your own business, party people, you can, you have to hire yourself. So even if you have an LLC, then you just elect to be taxed as an S Corp or C Corp. Talk to your accountant about what works for you, okay? Then you will file a Form 2553, party peoples, and then you would have a corporate resolution saying, I am now going to be taxed as an S Corp or C Corp. Our firm does it, for my clients. I have a couple clients like, I need to do that. I need to hire myself. And the deadline is March 15th, okay? March 15th of every year, so it can retroactive back to January 1, where you're taxed as an S Corp or C Corp. And when you're taxed as an S Corp or C Corp, you hire yourself. And because you hired yourself, you can now give yourself employee benefits. There's limitations. This conversation is not about that. This conversation really is about at least helping you understand that there are some things beyond what I call the basics. So I want you to think about how this can bless you, how this can help you, how you can establish your own solo 401k or your own self-directed IRA, right? Which you can put a lot of money aside and you can protect your assets from creditors, right? So we talked about estate planning documents, personal estate planning documents, business protection documents, entrusting with a trust, considering employee benefits for yourself through your job or for yourself as a business person. And lastly, I want to talk about, just last thing, asset protection. Hopefully this was good information for you. And why asset protection, Toni? Because asset protection is beyond the personal estate planning, beyond the personal business planning, beyond having a trust, beyond having an employer or employee benefit plan. It's now a strategy where you're looking at your money. You have your broker in place, you have your accountant in place, you have maybe your tax attorney who happens to be as smart as freaking me, who also does, estate planning in place. Oh, and who happens to be a business lawyer in place, where you're looking at, okay, these are all my financial angles. How do I protect myself? I'm going to say this right now. If you're in current litigation right now, asset protection by restructuring is illegal. Okay, just letting you know, because now you're hiding your assets. That's why you got to be proactive. See, when you're proactive, then you can benefit yourself. You can be strategic, when you are reactionary, then they're thinking, oh, you're trying to hide stuff, right? So when you are protecting your assets, one, I talked to my single ladies. How you doing, single ladies? And they're talking about, I'm getting married, but I have $4 million. How do I protect myself? Well, guess what? I'm going to say it. I'm going to say it again. I'm going to say it again. Have a irrevocable blind trust. Boom, boom. Obviously, you have to have that irrevocable blind trust with someone who you love, because as long as you transfer your assets before you get married, it was never part of your estate. That is the best way, that's what I told my client one time, right? And so I'm like, that's the best way to personally protect your assets before you get married. Because I used to be a divorce attorney until I said, bastante, enough is enough. It was like almost 8 years. At one point, I had over 300 people in my inventory. On top of that, I was helping them with their businesses and helping them with their estates and their planning and stuff. And I was just like, yo, I'm not liking this. I'm going to do something else. Oh, I'm a smart chick. I'm going to start doing taxes. And that's what I started doing. And then one of the partners said, look, if you want to make a difference, get into employee benefits. And that's what I did. And then he said, if you want to make a bigger difference, go and get your master's in taxation. And that's what I did. And that helped me walk out the door, child. That's helped me walk out the door. So saying all that to say, when you are protecting your assets, think about the worst case scenario, party people. I'm sorry too, but girl, you are far. Aren't you in Texas, Drea? So think about the worst thing that can happen. Either someone is coming after you, or you're going through a divorce, or there's litigation, or there is maybe you're a business owner and your employees did something, and because of agency law, meaning that they work for you, so the culpability goes back to you. How do I protect my assets? And you always got to have a conversation. Like, people are like, well, can I go to like the Cayman Islands? Yeah, you can, but those are hedge fund babies, and you can totally, deal with the hedge funds. And there's people out there, and I do have brokers who can set that stuff up. You know what I mean? But there's rules, there's levels to this thing. So you can't just be trying to do it yourself, FYI. Other than you can probably do your own estate planning, personal estate planning documents yourself. We do have, do-it-yourself estate planning kits, that we still have to drop onto the morelegallaw.com website. But when we're talking about the more advanced you go, especially when you're dealing with tax laws and tax issues and ramifications, if it's not right, because if it's not right, it gets pierced. And if it gets pierced, then all of your stuff, it could be possibility be snatched by the litigators or the litigants or people who are coming for you, so that's not what you want to do. A lot of stuff you don't want to do as do it yourself when you're at a more advanced level. But the asset protection is amazing. There's so many different levels. Asset protection with regards to Medicaid, asset protection with regards to tax planning. You can plan your taxes. You can shelter your money by having different structures. Tax planning is okay. Tax evasion is not okay. Tax avoidance is okay. Tax evasion is not okay. So you structure, baby, structure. It's all about the structuring. Asset protection before the litigation is okay. Hiding your assets after litigation has been started, not okay. Asset protection before the need for bankruptcy, okay. Asset protection, structuring, restructuring, retitling after, not okay. right? So all that to say is that the proactivity helps you with your protecting your assets. So if you're thinking about securing the bag, I want you to really think about, this is what I need. There's levels to this thing. It's not just the basic thing. We got to go beyond the basics, right? So this is Toni Moore, just having a more legal moment for you. I hope this was good for you. Feel free to ask any questions. Feel free to give me a suggestion for next week's show, and I will be there, right? Because I realize more and more that when we know better, we do better. So as a lawyer of over 21 years and as a adjunct professor and a business law adjunct professor, nonprofit management adjunct professor, even public advocacy, I'm going to try to flip some of my courses so that I can have it in my More Legal Academy so that people understand that there's options to this thing, levels to success, and there's options to how you're going to manifest your happiness. So we will talk real soon. Thank you so much. Ask the questions, give me the suggestions, and we will talk. Bye for now.